Olga Marie on Facebook Live asks the following question. Can we go to SSPX Mass and be valid for our Sunday obligation?
Right. Well, because of their irregular status, although I don't know if our inquirer is aware that there's been more good news concerning movement toward full communion today. As many of our listeners know, our Holy Father during the Year of Mercy extended faculties exercising his immediate juridical authority. He communicated faculties to hear confessions to all SSPX priests. That was really remarkable, and since the Year of Mercy ended, he did not take those away. So they are yet extended. This is our Holy Father. He is the priest of mercy. Well, in fact, I was just reading it before I came over here. I didn't finish reading the whole letter from the Vatican on this, but it states that our Holy Father is encouraging bishops around the world to grant faculties. It's not a mandate. He's not exercising his immediate juridical authority as he did with confession, but he's encouraging the ordinaries to extend faculties where possible to the SSPX to witness marriages. Now, it does say in the letter, as I was just reading, I want to go back and really take it apart after this broadcast, but it did say that because of the irregular status, the ordinary witness is a priest who is validly incarnated into the diocese. But where that is not possible, where a priest is not available, that sort of thing, he's encouraging them to extend faculties to SSPX priests. So it's not like the confession, but it is extending, encouraging bishops to extend faculty. So it's more movement, I think, in a good direction when it comes to. Now, as far as going to masses, again, because of their irregular status, people should go to parishes where the priest is incarnated into the diocese. However, the Church has been, bending over backward for the SSPX and those who love the traditional Mass, so that a permission has been given for those who love the Latin Mass to attend those parishes. So, it's, again, a sign that we're moving toward, and I think it will be an exciting day. I pray that day will come soon where we will have, we'll no longer have to talk about this irregular status any longer. But those who are attending SSPX Masses because they love the Latin liturgy, they are not, dissing Vatican Council II or anything like that, are not sinning. The Church is not saying that you're in sin if you go to those masses. There are other things that have to be taken into account, though. It doesn't mean you're free to reject all of Council of Vatican II. That's one of the big sticking points concerning full communion with the SSPX. They have to acknowledge that Vatican II is a valid ecumenical council. But I happen to know people who attend those masses from time to time because they love the traditional liturgy. They're not available a lot of times very generously in particular dioceses, and they're certainly not in sin.
And SSPX, Society of St. Pius X.
10th, correct.
And why? I maybe I should know this, but why Pius X? What about him is?
Yeah, well, I think it was a priestly fraternity that was started in France before there was a schismatic act.
Oh, okay.
It was simply a group of seminarians, later priests. I believe it was seminarians and priests back in about, if memory serves, about 1972. A number of these young seminarians and such approached Archbishop Lefebvre, who was retired at the time, and they asked him, because of the post-Vatican II craziness that was going on with the promulgation of the Missale Romanum, the Mass of Paul VI, as it's called, and the abuses that were going on, these folks came to Bishop Lefebvre and said, you know, we need you to come out of retirement and help us. And he did. And at the outset, because he was not an ordinary, he was a retired bishop, he did not have a diocese, he had to get permission from the local ordinary to begin the SSPX, which he was granted. At that time, he was in full communion with the church. They were just concerned. But so the St. Pius X, of course, was a reformer bishop who, you know, wrote wonderful documents, you know, the Syllabus of Errors against Modernism and so many things. So it was a pope like that was a perfect fit for them. But what happened was they started to go extreme pretty early on, to the point where they ordained some priests illicitly. Pope Paul VI got involved. That was not excommunicable, but it was a grave sin. But then what ends up happening is there's back and forth between Paul VI and the SSPX. They were suspended ad divini, that is, their faculties were removed, and they continued in disobedience. And this back and forth went on until Pope Paul VI died in 1978. John Paul picked it up and really wanted to have a reunion. He picked up the dialogue. Cardinal Ratzinger, of course, involved when he became prefect of the CDF. But unfortunately, it took a bad turn in 1988 when the SSPX ordained Bishop Lefebvre. Yep. He ordained 4 bishops illicitly, and that is matter of excommunication automatically, right? Latae sententiae, and so that started that. But the amazing thing is, I mean, you really sympathize with the SSPX and the craziness that was going on and such. But you also see in this whole thing how the popes have reached out and continued to reach out. John Paul, he was forced. I mean, he didn't do anything. He simply declared what canon law already stated. There was a latae sententiae excommunication, but the dialogues immediately were started. John Paul established the Ecclesia Dei, which was his specific task was to be the mediator to try and get the SSPX back. And now here we are. You know, there's been lots of trials and failures and semi-successes and such, and now it's Pope Francis. Some might think the most unlikely candidate is the one who really seems to be moving the ball forward like none other. So anyway, that's just a brief thumbnail sketch.